Anyone else that you're expecting stuff?
Nope, this should be it.
Okay, great. Well, this is awesome. Thanks for coming in, probably on short notice. I'm Mike Hansen, the captain of the Central District here, and joining me to my right, your left, is Lieutenant Matt Nordquist. He's in charge of our investigations and detectives in the Central District. And to my left, your right, is Lieutenant Dave Meinert. He's in charge of operations, our community police team in the Central District. So we have some real interesting basic talking points here for you, and then we'll open it up to any questions that you might have. But one of the questions you might ask was this a success, Mifflin Street? And it's difficult to answer that, because how do you really define success to an unsanctioned event where intoxication rules the day? So just some points that are important to us to communicate with the public is, number one, the enormous amount of planning that goes into this, and that is our police command staff putting in extra time to plan for months on end, working with other city agencies and building inspection, the landlords. There's an enormous amount of pre-planning work to do in the months leading up to it. So that's important to note. And then the high level of professionalism that the officers display throughout the day, along with our partnerships with the community. That goes to the UW Dean of Students, the UW Police Department, our landlords, and the other law enforcement agencies that came along for the ride, and that's the Sheriff's Office and Capitol Police with UW Police. So that's important to note. Then the next important thing to note is the actual crowd and the event for the day. And we felt, anecdotally, the crowd was increased this year for whatever reason. It felt like there's more people out there. We also felt that there was a higher level of intoxication this year. More people seemed to be consuming more. And we blame that on a number of things. One, the larger crowd size, and then the evolution of these Borgs. And what does a Borg stand for? It's called a blackout rage gallon. And one team of our officers emptied 74 Borgs alone as people were in the street with open intox. It's a gallon of alcohol that you carry with you all day long just to drink and get drunk. So when you have those sprinkled into the event of over 10,000 people, it leads to high levels of intoxication. We also thought, due to anonymity, that there were more brazen people in the crowd, throwing projectiles, waving around that metal pole, and then ducking into various large crowds where we couldn't reach out and grab them, led to people being very courageous and brave during this event. And then the third component that we want to touch upon is the future of this event. None of us, and including you in the room, none of us can understand what is special about intoxication, the assaults that happen, the injuries that happen, people climbing trees and touching power lines, a nurse getting kicked in the head, an injured officer, all to celebrate a day that is no longer about a Vietnam protest. This is nothing but a drunk fest that is unsanctioned by the university and by the city. And it continues year after year. And we feel that essentially by doing nothing, this event gets endorsed. So for the next year, we will look at ways to partner and collaborate with the University Police Department, the university, the landlords, city officials, on ways to try to end this event and certainly make it less attractive, because we deal with the aftermath, and the aftermath is the arrests, the assaults, the injuries, the property damage, and it's year after year. So we will turn this into a project for us in the Central District, and we'll work hard. Anecdotally, there were some things to point out here as well. As we noted a 10-foot metal sign was swinging around, and our public information officer with the captain saw this going on, and they put a stop to it immediately. That could have been very dangerous. Obviously, a gun was recovered from the incident. We had a female that's probably a great student, probably a great person, brought to the hospital, and they're still in this drunken rage, kicks a nurse in the head. We had people climbing trees and trying to grab power lines. And then disturbing once again is the fact that high schoolers attended this event, several high schoolers. So this is unofficial in the sense that more stuff happened that wasn't logged, but in our log we had at least 13 noise complaints. We had 17, and this number is way under the actual, because not every warning went to the command post, but 17 overcrowding complaints of people being on porches and sadly enough on the roofs. And when you're drinking, you lose your balance. It's a bad day. We went to at least 20 intoxicated persons calls where we had to actually bring people to the hospital and detox. And detox closed at 4:30 p.m. And somewhat new this year, and this speaks to our level of cooperation with the residents, is that we warn people about porches, porch collapsing, the violence that happens at these parties, items getting stolen. And due to those warnings, residents that live on Mifflin asked our police officers to actually help them clear out their house throughout the day. And we were surprised and happy to do so because that was important to help clear out some homes before it became too ugly. We're still tabulating all of our arrest data. I just got a report 3 minutes ago that I still need to comb through on the level of citations and physical arrests that were encountered during this event. So that's our opening statement. Anything further?
You sound like you're personally very fed up and tired of this, is that right?
Well, more than personally, professionally. If you go down to a T to talk to our officers on this event, no one is in favor of it continuing the way it is, because we each year dodge a major catastrophe, whether it's physical with a porch collapsing or whether it's a weapons violation, and that frightens us because things become unpredictable. And people like to do irrational things with the level of intox that they're at and do stupid things. And because this is unsanctioned by the city and UW, nobody owns this. And so we go out, we plan for months, and we go out and protect it, wondering if there's going to be a catastrophe or loss of life. And we do our best and are professionally equipped and trained to ensure that nothing major happens.
Can we talk about, oh, sorry, go ahead. Okay, can we talk about Markus Allen? I asked because he's a notable figure. He's, of course, the UW Badgers wide receiver, and so his name carries weight with it, right, which is why I asked. We got confirmation from the Dane County Sheriff's Office that he was arrested for a weapons offense. What happened? Can you provide some details about how all this happened?
Sure, and we'll keep it real basic because for us, it's a behavior. It doesn't matter who it is, and what's scary is the fact that there's a gun in a very large, unpredictable, intoxicated crowd. So to keep it real simple, person had an open intox. Officers don't know or care who this person is. They go to contact him. As part of the contact, it leads to an arrest. And during the arrest, we have the ability to do what's called a search incident to an arrest. And during that time, a gun was discovered, and the person was brought to jail.
It was a stolen gun, too.
It was a stolen gun. Yeah.
What do we know about where it came from, why he had it?
That is all part of what Monday and this week will be about.
Are you able to say what kind of gun it was?
I am not.
And do you have the exact charges he's facing then?
We do have it in a report, but we can charge, and what happens is, or we can send up charges, but that actually ends up being a district attorney's.
Charges were referred to the DA's office, and ultimately they'll make the final decision on what is going to be charged.
And those potential charges, what were they?
Carrying a concealed weapon, then there was a municipal charge related to the alcohol, and they're still trying to determine intoxication level if there's going to be a charge associated with that.
Was the gun loaded?
I don't know at this point. Yeah, that's all part of the follow-up that the detectives will do this week.
Was there any incident that would bring him into custody?
Relatively consistent with many of the arrests down there, nothing notable.
He was bailed out too, was it for $500?
Pretty quickly.
Yeah. Are you able to say who bailed him out? Like,
I don't know, yeah.
University or-
So once somebody's arrested, there's always follow-up for any case, and that's where detectives may or may not be assigned. But once somebody's in the jail, they're then part of the whole justice system. So between the jail, bail, next court appearance, that transfers over to another agency.
Are you able to talk more about the officer who was injured? Just tell us what the injuries were.
Are you more
Yeah, he simply sustained a minor shoulder injury from an arrest.
Has a weapon ever been recovered at the Mifflin Street Block Party before?
Oh, yes. We've had stabbings there. We have had gun in the past as well. None fired that I'm aware of, but we've had stabbings and weapons there in the past. And then we would consider this a weapon as well, because frankly, you can injure somebody, cause great bodily harm.
So you're still sifting through like how many arrests and citations there were, but do you have like a minimum number? There were at least this many or anything like that? Or?
Do you want to comment on this?
I think he touched on what we had. No, we're going to continue to go through what we have, and we'll get that information out when we can.
I believe yesterday, or maybe at the end of the night on Saturday, it was put out there was 44 arrests. Are there more that you guys are counting?
Affirm.
Yep. There'll be, so what happens is, it's so busy, it's so congested, and the officers are just in a triage mode as the crowd is more intoxicated and is larger. And if we can ID somebody and inform them, we'll follow up with a citation later. Sometimes that's best practice because the officers have to move on to the next incident. And what will happen is this week, our community police team will follow up with those citations. So we'll have a better idea by the end of the week.
And
And
if
how
there's,
does-
sorry, if there's more than 44, how many arrests have that compiled up to?
We don't know the numbers as of this
Yeah.
point, but we'll compile them and get that to you.
Okay,
Fair to say dozens for now, dozens and dozens.
sure.
I think it's fair to say that police every year are pretty fed up with this event, but, how serious are you about bringing this to an end next year?
Oh, very serious, because like I said earlier, I'm trying to figure out the good of this event. And you have underagers. You had a swarm coming from the dorms, predominantly freshmen and sophomore dorms, filing out, coming to this event. Underage drinking, high levels of intoxication. We had people arrested for battery and somebody kicking a nurse. It just, no one sanctions it, no one owns it. And so we need to work together on finding better measures. And I have a commitment from UW Police that said they'd work with us on looking at other events throughout the country where collaboration has led to the end of these events. And so I won't give up on that, absolutely not.
Was there a maybe turning point or moment, aha moment? Because just because this has been happening for years, but why now? Why say you're really serious about ending this next year?
Well, first of all, the moment at the event was the little bit of rain that we had. So people in the field were saying, you can judge the level of crowd by throwing of projectiles, by the attitude level of intoxication. So as we saw that rise, out of nowhere came, by good luck, a rain shower and dark clouds. So that helped. And so some people left. Had that not and been 70 degrees, we feel like it would have tipped in a less positive direction, and thankfully we had the rain. As far as, what was the...
No, just generally why, like what led to you realizing personally that this has to stop next year?
Well, and this isn't personal, this isn't, this is a professional way of going about this is, we've all worked this event for a lot of years, and as we see it continue, now we're commanders of this district, and we see that there's injuries that come out of this, there's property damage. We have the support from the alder that also does not like this event, that, as we examine the statistics all week and in the coming months, we will work with others that have a stake in this, and that's the UW, and that's UW Police, and it's the landlords.
How's the nurse doing? Any idea?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I haven't received any updates.
Is she filing charges?
Oh, somebody was charged with that, right?
Charges were referred, again, where that goes from this point, I'm not sure.
Any other questions?
As you can see from our PIO here, some of the pictures from Mifflin, you know, it should be noted that the staff, the police that work this event on the street, they start out really engaging. Their motto is to engage with the crowd, understand the crowd temperament, hold people accountable. It's a mix, and it is, in a situation like this where alcohol rises all day long and the intent is to get as drunk as possible, that it becomes challenging to your patients, professionalism, and everything else. And these cops did an outstanding, phenomenal job ensuring people were safe here.
I did think of one other question,
Sure.
please. I've never heard of, you said boards?
Yeah.
Those gallons. Do you know what they were filled with? Was it straight liquor? Was it mixed drinks?
It was-
I mean, only from what we've heard. I don't have any personal experience with them. It's basically a gallon of whatever you want to put in it that includes booze and what you think tastes good. So,
Apparently it's on social media, so which we try and I try and abstain from. Yeah. But so, do we have the drone pictures on there as well? It really shows the crowd size here. And, you know, in the past, a challenge for us was the backyards. And you see two cars surrounded by a lot of people. We had mud wrestling in here. One car's roof was pretty well damaged. And, you know, you swarm this many people that are drinking, it becomes the crowd mentality. And this is the part that concerns us. It's hard to access, and it's a tight crowd, and obviously thousands of people, and this is just one of many snapshots that we have.
How many officers were at the event this year?
Around 200 total, yeah.
You brought that stick too, and you talked a little about it, but people were just carrying those around then?
From what I understand, somebody picked it up and started swinging it around, hopefully in a joking, ridiculous, idiotic manner, and not to actually injure anybody. Steph, anything further on what you saw there?
Just, you know, they would grab what they could find on the ground, and this was like a parking stall stick, so.
One last question I have. You kind of mentioned, you know, sophomores and freshmen also, and high schoolers. Obviously, I know this is kind of more of the university's jurisdiction, but can you speak kind of broadly in the past as to, you know, what happens to your academic career, your academic record, if, you know, if you're caught doing illegal activities on others?
I don't know. I don't know their level of sanctions. You guys want to comment on?
no, I
Okay.
don't.
Don't know. Anything further? You guys got anything further? Okay. Well, great. I'll work with Steph on more statistics throughout the week that she can release, and as it's more tabulated and comes in and figure things out.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
News 3 Now is always on.
Get the Channel 3000 app, activate the push alerts, and we will send you breaking news, traffic, and weather alerts as it happens.
The Channel 3000 app. Get it now.
Powered by News 3 Now.